All right, so today we're going to be diving deep into The Art of War by Sun Tzu.
Ooh,
Have you ever heard of this one?
of course.
It's a pretty popular, I think.
Yeah, very much so.
And we're doing here on the Books Summary Podcast.
Excellent.
If you like this kind of stuff, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below.
Absolutely.
Now, this book, it's not just like some dusty old military manual, right?
Yeah, it's right. It's very relevant for today.
Oh, yeah.
Very much so.
What do you think is like the main thing that makes it so relevant?
Well, it's full of advice that has helped people win in business,
Oh, interesting.
in relationships,
Okay.
and just getting ahead in life. So it's
Okay.
very, very practical.
So we could all use a little art of war in our lives.
Absolutely. I think so.
Now, to help us unpack all this wisdom from the art of war, we've got an expert on strategy and ancient texts with us today.
Hello.
So what makes this book so fascinating, even for someone who's never, led an army or anything?
Well, it's incredible because the book was written over 2,500 years ago. And it's still studied by CEOs,
All right.
athletes, and really anyone who wants to get a strategic edge.
Hmm.
Because it's all about understanding conflict and competition.
Right.
Not just on a battlefield, but in
Oh.
any area of life.
So it's less about, the tanks and troops and more about just, the mental game of outsmarting your opponent.
Exactly.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
And the book starts by laying some groundwork.
Okay.
Sun Tzu talks about the 5 constant factors in any conflict.
Oh.
And these are moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, and method and discipline.
Okay, those are interesting.
They might sound a bit abstract,
Yeah, a little bit.
but they're actually very practical.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Huh.
Break it down for us. What do these constant factors actually mean, and how can we relate to them, today?
Okay, so let's take moral law.
Okay.
Sun Tzu says that moral law means having your people united behind you.
Okay, so, they're all on the same page.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Think about it in a modern context, like in a company where everyone believes in the CEO's vision.
Right, they're all working towards the same goal.
Exactly. That creates a very powerful force.
Yeah.
Then there's heaven,
Heaven, okay.
which refers to things like timing and the environment you're operating in.
Hmm.
Today, that could be understanding market trends or riding a wave of public opinion.
So it's about, reading the signs of the times and kind of knowing when to strike?
Sun Tzu is big on seizing the right moment.
I like that.
And then we have earth,
Okay.
which is all about the terrain. But in business, this could be your competitive landscape,
Yeah.
your resources,
Yeah.
your strengths and weaknesses.
So knowing your playing field?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then there's the commander.
Okay.
This is about leadership.
Okay.
Sun Tzu lists qualities like wisdom,
Okay.
sincerity,
Uh-huh.
courage, and strictness.
So these are all, timeless traits of a good leader,
Absolutely.
whether you're leading an army or a startup.
Right.
Okay.
And finally, we have method and discipline.
Method and discipline. Okay, what does that one mean?
Think of it as the organizational side of things.
Okay.
Clear hierarchies,
Uh-huh.
efficient logistics,
Okay.
and making sure resources are used wisely.
That's important.
All essential for success in any endeavor.
So these 5 factors are kind of like the foundation of any successful strategy.
Yes.
You got to have those down
Absolutely.
before you can even think about tactics.
Right. And it's fascinating how Sun Tzu connects all these seemingly disparate elements.
Right.
He emphasizes that they're all interconnected.
Yeah.
So like a strong leader with a demoralized team.
Right. They're not going to get very far.
They won't get very far, no.
Yeah.
And even the best strategy will fail if you don't understand the terrain you're operating in.
The environment.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
It reminds me of that saying, you can't lead an army on an empty stomach.
Yes,
So Sun was very aware of that practical side of things.
absolutely. And that practicality is part of what makes the art of war so relevant today. He doesn't just talk about abstract principles.
Right.
He gives very concrete advice that you can actually apply.
Okay, so give us an example. What's one of those practical nuggets of wisdom that jumps out at you?
Okay, well, one of the most famous quotes from the book is, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles." Sun Tzu stresses that self-knowledge is crucial.
Oh, that's so important.
It is.
It's you got to know yourself to know what you're good at, what you're bad at
Exactly.
before you can even
Yes.
try to go up against anybody else.
Know your strengths and weaknesses.
Yes.
And then also knowing your enemy allows you to anticipate their moves and exploit their vulnerabilities.
I love that. It reminds me of that scene in a sports movie
Yeah.
where the coach will, analyze the opponent's every move, and then they'll come up with a game plan that really plays on like all their weaknesses.
Exactly.
It's kind of fun to watch.
It is. That's exactly what it is. It's about gathering intelligence, analyzing information,
Right.
and using that knowledge to your advantage.
Okay.
Sun Tzu believed this was the key to victory, not just in warfare,
Right.
but in any competitive situation.
So this applies to like job interviews,
Yes.
business negotiations,
Absolutely.
even like just arguing with your partner.
It can.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's say you're going into a negotiation.
Go.
If you know what the other person wants,
Okay.
what their motivations are,
Uh-huh.
you can tailor your approach
Okay.
to get the outcome you desire.
Oh, that's smart.
It's about understanding the psychology of the situation
Okay.
and using it to your advantage.
That's powerful. But
Right.
what if you don't know your enemy that well?
Wow.
You know, Sun Tzu talks about spies and intelligence gathering. Does that come into play here?
It does. We'll get into the specifics of spies later.
Okay.
But Sun Tzu recognized that knowledge is power.
Right.
He believed in gathering information through various means, including using spies to infiltrate the enemy's ranks and discover their plans.
Okay, hold that thought, because I definitely want to hear more about the spy stuff later. It sounds like
Yeah.
a James Bond movie.
Oh, yeah.
But before we get there, there's another key concept that Sun Tzu introduces kind of early on.
Yeah.
It's this idea of winning without fighting.
Right.
It seems kind of counterintuitive, especially in a book about war.
It is, and it's one of the most brilliant aspects of the art of war.
Wow.
Sun Tzu argues that the highest form of generalship is actually breaking the enemy's resistance through strategy and psychology
Okay.
without having to engage in a costly and drawn-out battle.
So it's about outsmarting your opponent, making them surrender before the fight even begins.
Exactly.
How do you do that, though?
He gives several examples.
Okay.
One is using deception to make the enemy misjudge your strength and intentions. He famously says, all warfare is based on deception.
Oh, that's interesting.
It is.
I'm starting to see how this could be applied to everyday situations. Like, imagine you're applying for a job.
Right.
And there's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
You wouldn't go in and immediately reveal all your weaknesses.
Right.
You'd present like your best self
Yeah.
and strategically kind of highlight your strengths.
Yeah.
That's a form of deception.
Exactly. It's about controlling the narrative
Yeah.
and shaping the other person's perception of you.
Okay.
Sun Tzu would approve of that tactic.
Interesting.
He also talks about the importance of choosing your battles carefully,
Right.
knowing when to fight and when to hold back.
So it's about being strategic and picking your moments, not just like reacting emotionally,
That's right.
but taking a step back and thinking like, is this the hill I want to die on?
That's a great way to put it.
That's a good one.
And he stresses that a skilled strategist controls the tempo.
Okay.
They force the enemy to react to their moves
Mm-hmm.
rather than dictating the terms of engagement.
It's almost like you're playing chess. Yeah. You're trying to anticipate your opponent's moves
Exactly.
and set them up for a checkmate.
Precisely. And Sun Tzu was a master of this kind of strategic thinking.
Wow.
He understood that every move has consequences
Yeah.
and that the goal is to achieve victory with the least amount of risk and bloodshed.
It's making me think about all those times I've rushed into arguments or decisions without really thinking things through.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Sun Tzu would probably shake his head and say, pick your battles wisely.
He probably would. And that's one of the great things about the art of war.
Yeah.
It makes you think about how you approach conflict and competition in all areas of life.
Right.
It's a reminder that strategy isn't just for generals, it's for everyone.
Right. It's for all of us.
Absolutely.
This is fascinating stuff, and I'm already feeling like I need to up my strategy game. But before we move on, I just want to remind everyone watching to like this video
Yes.
and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying this deep dive.
Please do.
We've got a lot more ground to cover,
We do.
including those spy tactics you mentioned earlier.
Oh, yes. The spies are coming.
Ooh.
And they're a key part of Sun Tzu's strategy for gaining an advantage.
Right.
We'll delve into all that and more in the next part of this deep dive.
Sounds good. I can't wait.
Ah.
Welcome back, everyone. So before the break, we were talking about how Sun Tzu, emphasized the importance of knowledge,
Yes.
knowing yourself, knowing your enemy,
Right.
and really gathering intelligence.
Absolutely. And, spies play a crucial role in that intelligence gathering process.
Okay.
Sun Tzu considered them to be like the sovereign's most precious faculty.
Wow.
He believed that having reliable spies operating within the enemy's territory could give you a decisive advantage in warfare.
It's like having eyes and ears everywhere,
exactly.
even behind enemy lines.
That's right.
But what exactly did these ancient spies do?
Wow.
And how did they even manage to gather information without getting caught?
Sun Tzu outlines 5 types of spies,
5. Okay.
each with a specific role to play.
Okay.
We have local spies,
Okay.
inward spies,
Uh-huh.
converted spies, doomed spies,
Doomed spies.
and surviving spies.
It sounds like something out of a spy novel.
It does.
I'm dying to hear more about each type.
Okay.
Let's start with local spies.
Okay.
Who are they and what kind of information do they provide?
Local spies are individuals recruited from the area where you're operating.
Okay.
They could be farmers, merchants, or really anyone who has a good understanding of the local terrain customs and the enemy's movements.
So they're like the eyes and ears on the ground,
Yes.
providing valuable intel on the enemy's activity.
Exactly. They can tell you things like where the enemy is camped,
Okay.
what their supply lines look like, and even the morale of their troops.
Interesting.
Sun Tzu believed that having a network of local spies was essential for making informed decisions.
That makes sense because if you're unfamiliar with the territory,
Right.
you're basically operating blind.
You are.
Okay, what about those inward spies? Those sound even more intriguing.
Yeah.
Who are they?
Inward spies are individuals who hold positions of authority within the enemy's government or military.
Oh, wow.
They might be officials, advisors, or even high-ranking officers who have been persuaded to betray their own side.
That's risky business.
It is.
What motivates someone to become an inward spy? Is it money ideology? A personal grudge?
It could be any number of things.
Okay.
Perhaps they're disillusioned with their current leadership,
Okay.
or they've been bribed with promises of power or wealth.
Right.
Maybe they believe in your cause more than their own.
Right.
Sun Tzu doesn't go into specifics, but he emphasizes the importance of identifying individuals who are vulnerable to persuasion
Okay.
and exploiting their weaknesses.
So it's like psychological warfare,
It is.
playing on people's fears, desires, and ambitions.
That's right.
It sounds incredibly manipulative,
Yeah.
but I guess that's the nature of espionage.
It is, and it's worth noting that Sun Tzu doesn't shy away from the moral complexities of using spies.
Okay.
He acknowledges that it can be a dirty business, but he believes it's a necessary evil in the context of warfare.
So it's a means to an end.
Yes.
A way to gain an advantage
Right.
and hopefully minimize casualties in the long run.
Exactly. And remember, this was written over 2,500 years ago.
Right.
In a time when warfare was much more brutal than it is today.
Good point.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to converted spies. Who are these guys?
Converted spies are enemy agents who have been captured and persuaded to switch sides.
Oh, so they were working for the enemy and then we
Yes.
kind of flipped them.
That's right.
Okay.
Sun Tzu believed that these were particularly valuable because they already possessed knowledge of the enemy's plans and operations.
That's brilliant.
It is.
Turning the enemy's own weapons against them.
Exactly.
But how do you even convince a captured spy to betray their own side?
Again, it comes down to understanding human psychology.
Okay.
You might appeal to their sense of self-preservation,
Okay.
offer them leniency,
Uh-huh.
or even convince them that their cause is lost, and that joining your side is the only way to survive.
It's like a high-stakes game of poker.
Yes,
Reading your opponent and making the right moves to win them over this is getting intense.
it is.
Okay, what about those doomed spies?
Doomed spies.
That sounds ominous.
They are individuals who are deliberately given false information and then allowed to be captured by the enemy.
Oh, wow.
They're essentially sacrificial pawns
Wow.
used to mislead the enemy and disrupt their plans.
So it's a form of disinformation?
Yes.
Spreading false intel to confuse the enemy
Right.
and create like advantageous situations for your own forces.
Precisely. And Sun Tzu believed this was a legitimate tactic in warfare.
Okay.
Of course, it's a risky move because you're essentially sacrificing a human life
Right.
to gain a strategic advantage.
That's heavy stuff. It makes you think about the moral dilemmas of warfare
It does.
and the lengths people will go to achieve victory.
It does, and it highlights the importance of leadership and
Right.
making difficult decisions that sometimes have unintended consequences.
Okay, we've covered 4 types of spies.
Yes.
What about that last one, surviving spies?
Surviving spies.
What makes them different?
These are the elite of the intelligence world.
Yeah.
These are the highly skilled agents who infiltrate enemy territory, gather crucial information,
Yeah.
and manage to return safely to report their findings.
They're like the James Bonds of the ancient world.
Exactly.
Brave, resourceful,
Yes.
and able to slip in and out of dangerous situations undetected.
That's right.
I like it.
And Sun Tzu recognized that these individuals were invaluable assets.
Right?
He emphasized the importance of rewarding them generously
Okay.
and ensuring their safety as they were the eyes and ears of the army.
Makes sense you'd want to keep your best spies happy and motivated.
Absolutely.
But Sun Tzu wasn't just about gathering information, right?
Right.
It's about what you do with that information.
Exactly. He emphasizes that intelligence is only useful if it's analyzed and acted upon effectively. He says, the reason why the enlightened prince and the wise general conquer the enemy whenever they move and their achievements surpass those of ordinary men is foreknowledge.
So it's not just about having spies.
Right.
It's about having a strategic mind
Yes.
that can process all the information they gather
That's right.
and turn it into a winning plan.
Exactly. And Sun Tzu believed that this ability to anticipate the enemy's moves and outmaneuver them was the key to achieving victory.
It reminds me of that famous quote, forewarned is forearmed. You know,
Yes.
if you know what your opponent's going to do before they do it,
Right.
you have a huge advantage.
You do. And that's why Sun Tzu placed so much importance on espionage and intelligence gathering.
Right.
He understood that knowledge is power
Ah.
and that having the right information at the right time could make all the difference in the outcome of a conflict.
This has been an incredible deep dive into the world of ancient spies.
It has.
If you're enjoying this episode and learning a thing or two about strategy and espionage, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
Please.
We're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
But when we come back, we'll explore some of Sun Tzu's other key principles,
Yes.
including the importance of choosing your battles wisely and adapting to ever-changing circumstances.
Absolutely.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into the art of war. We've covered a lot of ground, from the 5 constant factors to the world of ancient spies.
We have.
Now let's shift our focus to some of Sun Tzu's key principles for achieving victory. And not just on the battlefield,
Right.
but in any area of life where strategy and decision-making are crucial.
That's right. One of the most important lessons from the art of war is this concept of choosing your battles wisely.
Okay.
Sun Tzu emphasizes that a skilled strategist
Yeah.
doesn't engage in every conflict that arises.
Okay.
They carefully assess each situation,
Right.
weighing the potential risks and rewards.
Okay.
And they only commit to battles they believe they can win.
It's like that old saying, pick your battles.
Yes.
It's about knowing when to stand your ground
Right.
and when to strategically retreat.
Right. Sometimes the best move is to avoid conflict altogether.
Totally.
Sun Tzu believed that wasting resources and energy on unnecessary battles weakens your position in the long run.
It's not worth it.
It's not. He stresses the importance of being deliberate and strategic
Okay.
in your approach to conflict, only engaging when you have a clear advantage and a path to victory.
So it's not about being aggressive or confrontational all the time.
Right.
It's about being smart and discerning,
Yes.
picking your spots,
Exactly.
and only fighting battles that truly matter.
Precisely. And this applies to so many areas of life,
Oh, yeah.
from business negotiations to personal relationships.
Okay.
Think about it. If you argue with your partner about every little thing,
Yeah.
you'll just constantly be in a state of conflict.
Right, yeah.
But if you learn to choose your battles wisely,
Okay.
focusing on the issues that truly matter, you can create a much more harmonious and productive relationship.
That's a great analogy.
Thank you.
It's about focusing your energy on what's important
Yes.
and not getting bogged down in the little things.
Exactly.
And I think this ties into another key principle from the art of war,
Okay.
this idea of adaptability.
Right.
Sun Tzu emphasizes that circumstances in war are constantly changing,
They are.
and a successful general has to be able to adjust their plans accordingly.
Absolutely. Rigidity is the enemy of success, according to Sun Tzu.
Okay.
He compares military tactics to water,
Rudder, okay.
saying, water shapes its course according to the nature of the ground over which it flows. The soldier works out his victory in relation to the foe whom he is facing.
That's a powerful image.
It is.
It's about being fluid and adaptable like water,
Yes.
adjusting your approach based on the terrain,
Exactly.
or in a modern context, the ever-changing landscape of the business world,
Right.
or even your personal life.
Absolutely. Sun Tzu stresses that clinging to a rigid plan in the face of unexpected challenges is a recipe for disaster.
Sure.
A skilled strategist must be able to assess the situation, adapt their approach, and even change direction entirely if necessary.
So it's not about having a perfect plan. It's about having the flexibility and mental agility to adjust your plan as needed.
Exactly. And that requires a certain mindset,
Okay.
a willingness to embrace uncertainty,
Okay.
to learn from mistakes, and to constantly adapt and evolve.
So being able to go with the flow.
Yes, Sun Tzu believed this mental flexibility was the hallmark of a truly great leader.
This is making me think about all those times I've stubbornly stuck to a plan even when it was clearly not working.
Right.
Sun Tzu would probably say, don't be afraid to change course if the situation calls for it.
He probably would. He understood that clinging to a failing plan is a sure way to defeat.
Yeah.
He encourages us to be open to new information, to reassess our strategies, and to be willing to pivot when necessary.
This is such valuable advice.
It is.
And it's applicable to so many areas of life.
Yeah.
Whether you're running a business, navigating a relationship, or just pursuing a personal goal.
Right.
Being adaptable is crucial for success.
It is. And it's a skill that can be developed through practice and a willingness to step outside of your comfort zone.
Okay, so we've talked about choosing your battles wisely and being adaptable.
Yes.
What other key takeaways from The Art of War can help us kind of navigate the challenges of modern life?
Well, Sun Tzu places a lot of emphasis on the importance of self-control.
Self-control.
He believed that a skilled general must be able to master their emotions and make rational decisions even in the heat of battle.
Okay.
He outlines 5 dangerous faults of a general that can lead to disaster.
Okay.
Recklessness,
Okay.
cowardice,
Uh-huh.
a hasty temper,
Okay.
a delicacy of honor,
Interesting.
and over-solicitude for his men.
Those faults sound all too human.
They do.
It's like he's describing our common weaknesses
Yes,
that we
yes.
all struggle with. Can you elaborate on each of these faults and how they can derail us?
Okay, let's start with recklessness.
Okay.
A reckless leader rushes into action without thinking through the consequences,
Okay.
often leading to unnecessary risks and losses.
Right.
Then there's cowardice, which can paralyze a leader with fear,
Right.
preventing them from taking decisive action when needed.
Makes sense.
Then we have a hasty temper.
Okay.
This makes a leader easily provoked
Uh-huh.
and prone to making rash decisions based on emotion rather than logic.
Those sound like recipes for disaster,
They do.
especially in like high-stakes situations where you really need to be thinking clearly.
Yes.
What about those last 2 faults?
Okay, a delicacy of honor can be a downfall because it makes a leader overly concerned with appearances and reputation.
Okay.
This can lead to poor decisions driven by ego
Right?
rather than what's best for the team or the mission.
So they're more worried about looking good.
Yes, exactly. And finally, over-solicitude for his men. While seemingly noble, can actually be detrimental.
So isn't it a good thing for a leader to care about their people?
It is. But Sun Tzu believed that excessive concern for the well-being of your troops
Okay.
could cloud your judgment
Mhm.
and lead to hesitation in making tough decisions.
Okay.
Sometimes difficult choices have to be made for the greater good,
Right.
even if they result in short-term sacrifices.
That's a tough lesson. But I see the wisdom in it.
Yes.
A leader can't be swayed by sentimentality when lives are at stake.
Exactly.
It's about finding that balance between compassion and strategic decision-making.
It is, and that's where self-control comes in.
Okay.
Sun Tzu believed that a truly great leader must be able to manage their emotions, control their impulses, and make clear-headed decisions even in the most challenging circumstances.
This is making me think about all those times I've let my emotions get the better of me. Whether it's anger,
Right.
fear, or even excessive compassion. It's a reminder that mastering our emotions is so crucial for making good judgments
It is.
and achieving our goals.
Absolutely. It's a skill that takes practice and self-awareness.
Yeah.
Sun Tzu understood that the battle within is just as important as the battle on the battlefield.
This has been an incredible journey through the wisdom of The Art of War.
It's been.
It's amazing how a book written over 2,500 years ago
I know.
can still offer such relevant and practical advice
It's timeless.
for navigating the challenges of modern life.
It truly is a timeless classic. And, you know, I think the ultimate takeaway is that strategy isn't just for generals and CEOs. It's for everyone.
I agree.
We all face battles in our lives, whether it's in our careers, our
Right.
relationships, or even our personal pursuits.
Right.
Understanding the principles of strategy can help us make better decisions,
Yeah.
achieve our goals, and ultimately live more fulfilling lives.
I couldn't agree more. If you enjoyed this deep dive into The Art of War, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more insightful explorations of classic books
Please do.
and timeless wisdom. And remember, as Sun Tzu said, the greatest victory is that which requires no battle.
That's right.
Go forth and conquer strategically, of course.
Yeah.